Before we start, let us know where you are watching from and what time it is for you. Go ahead and dim the lights, turn your screen brightness down, and let the world around you dissolve just a little. Because tonight, we are diving into how cavemen survived without fire, before we knew how to make it. If you want to support this channel, or want to watch more of these sleepcore history documentaries in the future, a like and subscribe is always appreciated. No pressure. Okay, now settle in and imagine this. You wake to the sound of your own breath. Shallow, frosty. Each exhale curls in the air like a ghost that never fully forms. Your bones feel stiff inside your skin. Your fingers don't respond the way they used to. You flex them slowly, painfully, like a child learning to move for the first time. This is the first cold, not the chill of a night breeze or the discomfort of damp clothes. This is different. Heavier, hungrier. The air itself feels sharp, like it has grown teeth and learned to bite. The cave has turned silent, the way it does when the world outside begins to change. You feel it through the stone beneath your body, a kind of deep stillness that signals something more than weather. A turning, a shift. The old rhythm has broken. You rise slowly. The others are still sleeping or pretending to. No one wants to be the first to move. No one wants to be the one who confirms that, yes, the warmth is gone now. That the season has turned and won't turn back for a long, long time. You step outside. The forest is muted. The leaves have fallen without you noticing. The sky hangs low and pale. Your breath rises and doesn't disappear. It floats, lingers, marks you. The air smells clean, too clean, the way it does before the snow arrives. You look down at your hands. They are cracked in the creases, dry, raw. You ball them into fists and hide them inside the hide wrap at your waist. You are not dressed for this. No one is. There is no coat, no boot, just animal skin, scraped thin, tied with sinew. You wore it when the days were warmer, and you wear it now, because it's all you have. You walk toward the water. The stream you've used all your life is slower now, edged in ice. The surface trembles but doesn't flow. You crouch beside it, press your hands to the stones, and scoop a little to your lips. It stings your teeth, but it's clean, for now. Behind you, someone groans. You turn to see your mother dragging herself from the cave, one hand pressed to her back, her face half shadowed by sleep and cold. She doesn't speak, just meets your eyes and nods. The nod means yes, the cold has begun. You both knew it was coming. You just didn't want to believe it would be so soon. Food becomes the first problem. The small animals are still out there, rabbits, birds, the occasional fox, but they've grown skittish. They move less, hide deeper. Your traps go untouched for days. The stones you throw miss. The raw meat you've stored in the pit has frozen solid. You try to chew through it anyway. It splits a tooth. You taste blood, spit it into the snow. No one says anything. Everyone knows what hunger sounds like, and everyone's trying not to let it show. The cold gets worse. Your breath never leaves your side. It follows you like a shadow, always visible. Your joints ache. You wake in the night with your legs locked and your fingers curled like claws. One of the boys burns his hands trying to rub warmth into them too fast. Blisters bloom across his palms. He doesn't cry, just looks at you, eyes wide, waiting for a solution you don't have. You try to laugh, to pretend it's fine, to tell stories like you used to, but the stories freeze in your mouth now. Words don't feel warm anymore, they feel brittle, like they might snap. You curl tighter at night, hide beneath skins, press into each other, shoulder to shoulder, cheek to cheek. You sleep not for rest, but for warmth. The breath of your sister on the back of your neck. The tremble of a cousin's leg beside yours. This is what keeps you alive. Shared heat, shared silence. The elders say this is how it always begins. The first cold arrives soft, but it never leaves that way. Soon the wind will scream. The snow will bury the traps. The ground will grow so hard you won't be able to dig through it. If there's death coming, it hasn't arrived yet, but it's watching, waiting to see who breaks first. You start to wonder if fire is real at all. You've seen it before, yes, but only in flashes. A tree struck down by lightning, burning like a god for a single night. You remember the colour, orange, red, gold, so strange and beautiful it almost hurt to look at. You watched it dance and crack and roar, and part of you believed it was alive, but it didn't stay. It never does. And now, the trees around you are quiet again. No fire, no glow, only frost. The cave grows darker each day, not because the sun has gone, but because your hope thins with each failed hunt, each burst of shivering that won't stop. You talk less, move slower. You stop looking up at the stars when you walk at night. They feel too far away now. And still you go out. You wake up and walk into the cold. You sharpen stones and check traps. You follow tracks through the snow, even when your feet go numb. Because not trying is worse than death. Because somewhere deep in your body, something still pushes forward. Maybe it's instinct, maybe it's memory. Maybe it's the dream that one day something will change. That the cold will lift, or the flame will come, or someone will finally find a way to make the dark less endless. But for now, you wait. You wait with cracked lips and bloody fingers, and a silence so thick it feels like ice in your lungs. You wait because that's what your kind has always done. You endure the first cold and prepare for worse. The hunger is no longer sharp. It is dulled now, become something deeper, something slow and constant, like a drumbeat in your spine. It's not just in your stomach anymore. It has moved into your bones, into the rhythm of your walk, into the silence between your words. You wake hungry. You fall asleep dreaming of marrow. The last of the dried meat is gone. The pit where you kept it is filled with ice now. The surface cracked like an old tooth. What little was left has grown slick with mould. It smells sour and sharp. Still, you pulled pieces from it and chewed. Because the question isn't, can you eat it? The question is, can you survive it? And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. One of the older men, lean, quiet, always carving, ate from the greened meat and fell still by the next morning. His breath turned shallow, his hands turned cold. By nightfall, he was gone. You didn't bury him. The ground was too hard. You covered him with stone instead. His knife lies beside him still. The others say nothing. There is no time to mourn the way your kind will one day learn to mourn. There are no songs, no graves, no words carved into bark. Grief is just another thing you carry in your belly beside the hunger. And right now, it is a lesser pain. The meat you catch is small and hard won. A hare that wandered too slow. A bird stunned by the cold. You eat it raw. There is no fire to transform it, to soften it, to make it more than what it is. Flesh. Cold, wet, slightly sweet at first, then metallic. You don't chew for flavour, you chew to live. You've learned to split the bones. The marrow inside is thick and pale, greasy, sometimes bitter, but it gives you something the meat does not, something that stays in your blood a little longer. You pass the bones to the children first. They suck on them like fruit, wide-eyed, silent. You watch their faces, you watch for colour in their cheeks, for the way their hands tremble, for the slow droop of their heads when sleep overtakes hunger. One of the youngest, a girl who barely speaks, has stopped walking. Her legs are too thin now. You carry her sometimes. You don't say anything when you do. It's not kindness, it's necessity. You remember a time before this cold. Not clearly, just flashes. Warm dirt underfoot. The sound of insects. The drip of fat from a fresh kill, steaming in the early sun. You remember the taste of a warm liver, pulled fresh and eaten quickly. You remember sharing. Now sharing feels dangerous. Every bite is measured. Every portion is weighed with your eyes before your hands ever move. A chunk too large and the others notice. A second helping and someone starts to wonder if you're stealing from the children. So you ration. You pretend you're less hungry than you are. You lie with your body, with your smile, with the way you turn your back to eat a smaller piece. The animals are harder to find now. The snow swallows their prints. The wind hides their scent. You walk for hours and return with nothing but cold in your boots. Once you followed what you thought was a fox for half a day, only to find it dead, its side torn open, its ribs picked clean by something that came before you. You took what was left anyway. Skin, one leg, a few scraps of frozen fat. You didn't tell the others where it came from. You just handed it over and nodded. They cooked it over, imagined fire, huddled close, holding it in their hands, waiting for heat that never came. You all ate in silence. The rot creeps in faster now. Without flame, meat dies quickly. It swells, softens, turns a shade of grey that warns you to stay away. But you eat it anyway. You cut around the worst of it. You scrape the maggots off. They don't bother you anymore. Sometimes you eat them too. Your mouth has become a graveyard. You lose a tooth. Another cracks. You bite the wrong edge of a bone and feel a sharp flash that makes your eyes water. The pain stays for days. You can't chew on that side anymore. You press snow to your face at night and hope it goes numb. It does, eventually. The elders whisper stories of beasts that fall in the open, great creatures with wide tusks and soft bellies, who wander into traps or drown in rivers. Mammoth, aurochs, elk the size of trees. You dream about them sometimes, not about the kill, but about the belly, the warm fat, the thick hide, the moment of fullness that must come after such a kill. You imagine what it feels like to not eat like a scavenger. You imagine sitting beside a real fire, not stolen flame, not lightning, a fire you made, one you fed with your own hands, one that warmed meat and filled your cave with smell instead of silence. But that's just a story. You don't know how to make fire. You only know how to follow hunger. It leads you every day now, like a leash around your ribs. You chase it without thinking. You kneel in snow, fingers blue, lifting scraps from the dirt and chewing before you know what it is. You eat because something inside you says, keep going. Even when it's cold, even when the food is foul, even when every breath hurts. You keep moving. You keep splitting bones. You keep feeding the children first. You keep walking. Because your kind has always walked farther than it should. It has always eaten what should not be eaten. It has always survived things nobody should survive. The hunger may gnaw at you, but the bone hunger, deep, primal, wordless, is what shapes you. It teaches you that life is not about fullness. It is about continuing. And you do, because tomorrow something might fall, something might appear, and if it does, you'll still be here, waiting. You've seen death in many forms. You've watched it creep and you've watched it strike. You've seen it starve your people slowly, and you've seen it snatch a child into the dark without warning. But you've never seen the sky kill. Not like this. It begins with a tension you don't understand. The air feels wrong. The clouds boil in silence, stacked high above the trees like mountains made of smoke. The animals are the first to notice. The birds vanish from the branches. The hares stay buried. Even the wolves do not howl. You walk through the forest and feel watched. Not by beasts, but by something larger, something above. Then comes the sound, a crack, so sharp it doesn't feel like hearing. It feels like being struck. It splits the world in half. The trees shiver. Your ears ring. The sky flashes white, then red, then darker than before. A scent follows, acrid, electric, as if the air itself is burning. You don't know what it means, not yet, but your feet move without thought. You run, not from hunger, not from cold, but from the sense that the world has opened and something terrible is pouring through. When you reach the clearing, the ground is already aflame. A tree, taller than any nearby, proud and alone, has been struck, split down its centre, its bark peeled back like the skin of a fruit. From its heart spills fire, real fire, not a flicker, not a trick of heat from rotting meat or the afterglow of a rockfall. This is something else, alive. It snarls and dances, leaping from branch to root, licking the edges of the fallen leaves with a hunger greater than yours. You freeze, everyone does. You're not alone, others have followed the sound. From behind trees, across stones around the curve of the cave mouth, the clan gathers in silence. No one moves closer, no one speaks. You all stare, eyes wide, bodies still. Like prey who've stumbled upon a sleeping god. The fire speaks in crackles, pops, roars. It sends waves of heat toward you, and the cold inside your skin begins to break. For the first time in weeks, your bones remember what warmth is. Your hands tingle. Your chest loosens. You feel your jaw tremble, not from cold, but from something else. Wonder. Then fear. Because the fire does not stay in one place. It spreads. A branch dry from weeks without rain snaps and bursts into orange light. The fire climbs it, surging upward like breath drawn into a giant's lungs. Another tree catches, then another. The clearing brightens like dawn, though the sky is black. Someone cries out, a sharp panicked sound. You don't know who, it could have been you. You step back, so does everyone else. The clearing becomes a border between worlds. On one side, the heat, the colour, the roaring life. On the other, your clan, cold and afraid, faces painted by shadow and light. You run. Not all at once, not in panic, but like animals sensing something larger coming. You scatter into the woods, back toward the shelter of stone and ice. Behind you, the fire rages. A beast with no bones, no eyes, no mercy. Back in the cave you cannot sleep. The fire stays in your eyes, on your skin, inside your skull. You close your eyes and see its shapes, how it moved, how it breathed. You still feel the heat ghosting across your arms. You've seen it before, but never like this, never so close. You whisper to each other that it must be alive, that the sky birthed it and the tree became its first victim. You don't have the words, but you feel the meaning. This was a thing from the gods. Or perhaps it was a god. And now it's loose in the world. The next day you return, carefully. The clearing is black now. The trees are skeletons. The ground is hot ash and broken bark. The fire has moved on, eaten its fill, and vanished. But in its wake, it has left something behind. You touch it, charcoal, still warm beneath the top layer. Your fingers come away blackened. You smell them. They smell like the sky smelled before it split. You kneel and sift through the ash, looking for shape, meaning. Something small catches your eye, a stick still glowing at the tip. You don't understand what you're doing, but you pick it up anyway. It does not bite. You carry it back. The others crowd around you, watching the smoke trail behind your hand. You place it gently on a flat stone. It smoulders, glows, breathes. You all take turns watching it, feeding it dry bark, waving your hands to see if it changes. For a few hours, you have your own fire. It is quiet, tamed, beautiful. It dies before dawn. You don't know why. It simply fades like a dream. No roar, no collapse, just a soft dimming, like the breath of a dying animal. You sit around it, the stone now cold, the smoke thinned to memory. No one cries, no one speaks. You just sit, because you had something. And now it's gone, but it has changed you. The cold is still here, the hunger is still here, the meat is still raw, but something else burns now? Not in the trees, not in the sky, but inside you. A question. What if you could bring it back? Not find it, not wait for the sky to split again, but make it, shape it, summon it like the gods do. You don't know how, you don't know when, but someone will try. Someone will strike stone against stone. Someone will blow on dry grass until it catches. Someone will coax the spark from the bones of the earth. And on that day, everything will change. But not yet. For now, you return to your cold cave, ash on your hands, smoke in your lungs, and something dangerous growing in your chest. Not fear. Hope. You learn how to carry it, not make it, not yet. That is still a secret sealed inside the bones of the world. But after the sky cracked open and left its fire in the clearing, after the smoke curled into your throat and made your body feel like it was waking from some ancient sleep, something shifted. Now, when you find fire, you try to keep it. It starts with a single, glowing branch. You don't grab it right away. You watch it first, like you would a predator, measuring its breath, its movement, its teeth. You see the embers smouldering deep in the wood, soft and alive. You see how it reacts to air, how it changes when fed dry grass. It doesn't roar like it did in the trees. Not here. Here it flickers, gentle, small. You break off the burning end and wrap it in damp moss. The others watch, unsure whether to stop you or follow. You tie the moss inside a bundle of bark and leather, and you walk, slowly, carefully, back to the cave. The ember makes it, barely. It breathes its dim light for hours. You cradle it like a wound. Feed it shavings of bark. Whisper to it, though you don't know why. You don't dare sleep, not while it's alive. You sit up all night, eyes fixed on the faint glow, feeling like a parent to something sacred and feral. By dawn, it dies. But now you understand something new. Fire does not vanish instantly. It fades, it must be fed, kept, carried. It is not a strike of lightning. It is a rhythm, a task, so you try again. The next time a fire falls from the sky, or when a smouldering tree is found in the distance, you come prepared. You wrap ash bundles in leather. You gather dry moss ahead of time. You make space in your pack for something that is not food or stone, but just as important. And slowly, without truly understanding it, your people become the keepers of flame. You learn which woods burn hot and which woods smoke. You learn how to protect the ember from wind, how to keep it breathing through the rain. The one who carries the fire becomes important, respected, watched. It is not the strongest who carry it. It is the most careful. This is a new kind of role, a new kind of power. Not a hunter, not a healer, not a parent, but something else. The one who brings warmth, the one who protects the night, the one whose hands, if steady, can save everyone. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Once, the ember dies during a river crossing. The one carrying it slips, water floods the pouch, smoke vanishes in an instant. That night, the cold returns like punishment. No one blames her, not out loud, but no one speaks to her for days. You begin to build small shelters for the flame, a circle of stone, a bed of bark, a ring of bones to shield it from the wind. You keep it at the centre of your camp, and the others sit around it like stars around a sun. When it is alive, everything changes. Faces are visible, hands can work. Meat softens in the heat, bones crack easier. It doesn't make life easy, but it makes life bearable. And so you protect it. You begin to treat fire the way you once treated ancestors, reverently, cautiously, with offerings and rules. You don't spit near it. You don't curse in its light. You don't use it wastefully. When someone disrespects it, others look away, fearful. The flame sees, you say. The flame remembers. Even though you don't control it, you feel it watching you back. It becomes more than warmth, it becomes boundary, ritual. A circle drawn between the beasts outside and the fragile world you build inside. Children are told not to step past it at night, not because of the dark, but because of what lives in it. Sometimes you think the fire is alive. You don't say this aloud, not yet, but it moves like something with a mind. It devours, it hungers, it responds to your breath, it changes with the wind. And when it dies, it leaves behind a silence heavier than death. One night during a long storm, your fire dims, the air is wet, the wood smokes instead of burning. You feed it, you shield it, but still the light shrinks. People grow restless, cold seeps in, and as the fire flickers its last breaths, something terrifying happens. A child begins to cry. It's not the cold that scares her, it's the dark. You realise then what you've become. Not just animals that survive, but people who remember light. People who crave it. Not because it cooks or warms, but because it changes how you feel inside your own skin. You gather the last dry twigs, press them into the embers, blow gently. Your breath shakes, your fingers sting, but the fire stirs. It lives. A flicker returns. A spark becomes a curl of orange, and slowly the dark steps back. The people exhale. They return to the circle. No one claps, no one cheers. But you all sit a little straighter, breathe a little deeper. You've learned how to keep a god alive, and that makes you something new. Not just survivors, guardians, of something that doesn't belong to the trees, or the wind, or the sky. Something that, now, just barely, belongs to you. The fire is not always with you. Sometimes it dies, or it's left behind, or rain eats it before you can feed it. Sometimes you are forced to move, chased by hunger or storm, or the smell of rot in a dead cave. And when that happens, the fire does not follow. It flickers in its bed of ash, and you have to walk away. Then you remember what it's like to be hunted, not by hunger, not by cold, but by the dark. Because even without fire, the night was never truly empty. There were always eyes in it, always teeth. You felt them even as a child before you had the words. You felt them when the forest grew too quiet, or when the wind shifted and carried the scent of wet fur and blood. The animals know your fear. They've known it longer than you have. The cave lion does not care that your hands can shape stone. The hyena does not care that your people speak in whispers and draw pictures on the walls. The wolves do not see your children as anything different from deer. You hear them at dusk, the low rumble of breath just beyond the tree line, a soft crack in the underbrush. You pause, heartbeat loud in your ears, and you know they're testing you, watching to see if you're too tired, too thin, too slow. Some nights they come closer. You feel it in the silence, how even the wind seems to stop moving. You feel it when the birds vanish too quickly from the trees, when the insects go still, when the cold deepens for no reason at all. You crouch low, press your back to another body and wait. Sometimes it passes, sometimes it doesn't. You've lost people this way. Not in battle, not with screams and blood, but in silence. One moment they're beside you, squatting in the dark, their breath fogging the air. The next, they're gone. No struggle, no sound, just a broken hide left behind and drag marks into the thicket. You follow, you always follow, but you never find them. Not really. You find what's left, and it never feels like enough. You become good at reading the dark, not the shapes but the movement, the pauses between wind gusts, the strange hush that falls when the predators come near. You learn not to look directly at the shadows, because they only look back. Instead you listen. You learn to hear the difference between the creak of a tree and the pressure of a paw on cold soil. It is not fear that saves you. Fear makes you freeze. It's awareness. It's the knowledge, passed from scar to scar, that you are not the only one trying to survive out here, and you are not at the top of anything. The fire helped once you had it. It became a circle, an invisible fence. Most predators don't like it. They stay at the edge, pacing, growling low in their chests, unwilling to step into the light. But without fire, there is no circle, no line, only dark, and the dark is where they belong. You start building barriers from thorn branches. You sleep in higher caves, with narrow mouths that can be blocked with rocks. You post lookouts. At least one person always stays awake now, turning their heads slowly, eyes wide, holding a sharpened bone or a fist-sized stone in their lap. But still they come, the great cats, the wolves in packs too large to count, the bears, massive and silent, their eyes like polished stones. You know now that death does not always roar. Sometimes it breathes just once, a soft exhale near your ear, a wetness on your neck that isn't rain. By the time you move, it's already too late. You remember the girl. Her name wasn't spoken after, not because she wasn't loved, but because her name made the dark feel closer. She was taken while collecting water at twilight. You found only her footprints leading to the edge of the stream, and then drag marks, deep, violent, clear. No one followed. The sun was already down, and in the dark you would not last. That's what you've learned. There are rules here, rules that you did not write. The night does not negotiate. The predators do not pity, so you adapt. You move less after sunset. You sleep in tighter clusters. You silence the children when they cry. You carry sharpened sticks and stones, not just for hunting, but for defending the space around your breath. You speak of courage, but you live by caution. And still, every so often, you see them, just outside the flicker of your memory, eyes shine in the brush, a tail disappearing into the trees, a footprint still warm. You tell yourself they're moving on, but they aren't. They're watching, just like you are, and it changes you. The ones who live long enough stop thinking of themselves as separate from the prey. You begin to move like them, cautious, low to the ground, scanning ahead with every step. You listen the way the deer do. You sleep with one ear always open. You do not conquer the dark. You learn to borrow space inside it. to wear it like a second skin, to make yourself small, unnoticeable, forgettable. And on the rare nights when the fire lives, you gather around it, not in celebration, but in quiet relief. Because for a little while, the circle holds. Because for a few hours, the eyes stay farther back. Because for just one night, you feel like more than prey. You feel almost human. But the fire will go out, and when it does, they'll return, and you'll have to survive them all over again. The fire has died again. This time there's no smoke, no flicker, no breath left to coax, just blackened wood and a nest of ash that turns cold the moment you touch it. You sit beside it anyway, as if presence alone might call it back. It doesn't. Behind you, the others wake slowly, groaning through stiff joints, their limbs heavy with cold. No one speaks. Not yet. The language of suffering doesn't need words. It lives in the way your mother holds her hands close to her chest, cupped together as if she still believes something warm will appear between them. The cold has returned. Not the first frost, not the aching chill of early winter, but the deeper cold, the old cold. The one you knew would come, the kind that makes stone crack, that makes bark snap from trees like bones popping from sockets. This cold doesn't merely sting, it punishes, it forgets you're alive. You wrap yourself tighter in hides that no longer do enough. They were once thick, stitched from the fur of animals who thought they would outlive the season. But time eats all things, and the hides are stiff now, brittle at the edges, crusted with salt from weeks of sweat and fear. When you breathe, the air cuts your throat. You can feel it in your teeth, that cold. It moves into your jaw like rot. You try not to clench, but your body does it for you. By midday, your molars feel loose. Your gums are swollen. You rub your tongue against the sore spots and taste blood. The sky is flat, colourless. It offers no warmth, no promise of change. Only a dull grey that mirrors the ground. Stone, ash, snow. Even the trees look sick. Their branches sag beneath frost. Their bark has split. You run your hand along one and feel it flake beneath your fingers. Even they are trying not to die. Your breath becomes a map of your suffering. It hangs in front of you with every exhale, marking your path with fog. You breathe through your nose now, shallow, slow, not because it helps, but because it hurts less. You know it's going to get worse. You feel it in your knees, where an old bruise has started to throb again. You feel it in the way the wind moves, not fast but sharp, like something dragging claws across your skin. You bury yourself deeper into your wrap. Still it finds you. The children cry in silence, not because they're brave, because they've already cried too much. Their voices gave out days ago. Their eyes are red and glassy. They shake uncontrollably, even when pressed between two bodies. One boy no longer shivers. That frightens you more than anything. Shivering means the body is fighting. Stillness means the body has given up. You kneel beside him and press your hands to his cheeks. They feel like river stones in winter, cold and damp and lifeless. His lips are purple. You want to say something to him, something to wake whatever is slipping away inside. But the words freeze before they form. Instead, you lift him. He weighs less than a skin of water. You bring him to the others, tuck him beneath a layer of fur, press your back against his chest, and hope that your warmth is enough. Hope is not a plan, but it's what you have. You haven't eaten in 2 days. The last of the meat turned, even the marrow soured. You tried cooking it over a smouldering stick before the fire went out. It hissed, but never changed. When you bit into it, it tasted like leather soaked in bile. You swallowed anyway. Regret followed. Hunger makes the cold worse. It hollows your body from the inside, weakens the blood, makes you less of a barrier between yourself and the ice. Your fingers have gone numb. You press them against your stomach to find sensation. There is none. The old woman, the one who used to hum while she stitched, says this is the worst she's felt it. Worse than the long winter 2 years ago. Worse than the season of white wind, when the river turned solid and the birds fell from the trees mid-flight. She says this one doesn't want to end. The others nod, but no one replies. What can you say to a cold that splits bone? You saw it yourself yesterday, while foraging near the stone field. A deer, long dead, half submerged in a frozen creek. Its front leg had snapped, clean and sharp, from nothing but the pressure of the frost. The marrow inside had spilled like white mud, frozen in place. You stared at it longer than you should have, not because of the death, but because part of you wondered if that's what waits for you too. An end without sound, a body broken not by beast or blade, but by silence. The sun dips lower. You know it's time to move, to gather, to find something. Wood if you're lucky. Anything that burns, even if only for a moment. But your legs argue, your joints complain, your body has begun negotiating with itself. You rise anyway, because that's what survival is now. It's not strength, it's not courage. It's defiance in the face of logic. It's walking into the cold again, knowing it doesn't care whether you return. You find a handful of dry grass beneath a leaning stone. A miracle. You pocket it. Later, you might try to strike stone against stone, just to see, just to hope. You've seen it spark before, but never long enough. Never with breath behind it. Still you keep trying, because even if fire isn't yours yet, you know now that the cold isn't either. It doesn't belong to you, but it also doesn't define you. You walk back to the cave, the wind biting your face, the sky already darkening again. Inside, the others have drawn close. No one asks if you found anything. They know the answer, but you sit beside them anyway. You press your hand to the boy's ribs and feel the faintest movement. He's still here. So are you. The cold may split stone, it may shatter bone, but it hasn't taken you yet. And until it does, you keep going. There's a smell in the air. You notice it before the others do. Faint but wrong, unfamiliar in the frozen stillness. Not the scent of meat or blood or rot, not the stink of wet fur or the musk of predator. This is drier, sharper, almost sweet, almost bitter. You've only smelled it once before, in the moments after a tree was struck from the sky and left to burn. Smoke. It's thin, barely there, clinging to the wind like a secret, but it's real. And it means one thing. Someone, somewhere has fire. You follow it, not with hope. Hope has long since gone quiet, but with instinct, with curiosity wrapped in suspicion. Fire does not just appear. And in a place like this, where everything is dying, anything alive enough to make fire could be something new, or something dangerous. The ground is hard beneath your feet, a patchwork of snow crust and frozen mud. You walk carefully, head low, eyes scanning the trees. Every few steps you stop and listen. The wind is changing. So is the light. That means dusk is coming. Still, you move toward the smell. And then you see it. At first it's just a smear on the ground, a strange grey dust trailing across the earth like spilled powder. You kneel, touch it, rub it between your fingers. Ash. You look up and see more, scattered in patches, leading forward in an almost deliberate path, not scattered like the leftovers of a wildfire. This is something else, collected, controlled, a trail left behind, not by accident, but by someone who wanted it found. You follow it deeper, through narrow paths where the trees grow thick, through places where the wind doesn't reach and the air feels held in place. The trail twists and bends, and each curve brings more signs. Bits of charred bark, cracked bones blackened at the edges, footprints pressed shallow into the frost. You know these prints. Not animal, not beast, human, but not yours. You stop. Suddenly the forest feels tighter. The cold no longer feels like the enemy. Something else does. You crouch low behind a fallen log and wait, heart in your throat. You watch the ash trail ahead of you, winding like a snake towards something you cannot yet see, and then you hear it. Not voices, not footsteps. A crack, a soft hiss, and the unmistakable pop of burning wood. You move slower now, silent as you can be, the trees thin. The sky opens slightly, and then, through a cluster of twisted trunks, you see it. A fire, small, contained, glowing like a heart torn from the centre of the world. Around it 3 figures crouch, hunched in heavy furs, their faces hidden by shadow and smoke. They are not your people. You know that immediately. Their clothing is thicker, their tools sharper, their bodies larger. One of them holds a branch topped with blackened stone, shaped like a spearhead but smoother, worked in a way that makes your own stones feel crude. You don't breathe, you don't move, you just watch. They speak in a rhythm you don't understand. Short bursts, low sounds. They share something from the fire. Meat, perhaps. It sizzles. One of them laughs, or something like laughter. The sound is not cruel, just strange, full of ease, like warmth is something they carry with them, not something they chase. You stay hidden until the dark thickens and the cold begins to bite again. Then you retreat, not out of fear, not out of shame, but because something inside you has changed. You know now what's possible. You return to your people with ash on your hands and the smell of smoke in your hair. They see you and gather close, silent and wide-eyed, waiting for the news you don't have words for. You sit among them, pull your wrap tighter, and stare at the dead fire pit in the centre of the Tave. You think of their fire, their warmth, their laughter, and something inside you tightens, not jealousy, not even envy. Hunger, a new kind, not for food, for knowledge. You begin to dream of flame in your sleep, not the wild kind that fell from the sky and burned the trees, not the flicker that must be stolen and carried like a dying bird, but a fire made by hand, called into being, held in place. You start trying, striking rock against rock, rubbing wood until your palms bleed, watching the sparks that vanish before they can become anything more. You fail, again and again, but you keep going, because now you know it's possible, because someone else has done it. The others watch you, not with doubt but with quiet faith, not hope. That word still feels too soft, but belief. Something older, something earned. The ash trail remains behind your eyes. You think of following it again, of getting closer, of watching their hands, their tools, their rituals. But you know what fire means now. It's not just heat, it's power. To control it is to hold back the cold, the beasts, the dark. And no one shares power freely. So you wait, you watch, you try. Every morning you walk into the forest and search for dry wood, for flint, for the right shape of stone. Every night you strike sparks into your cupped hands. The cave fills with the sound of failure. But no one asks you to stop, because you have returned from the ash trail. And that makes you different, because you've seen what the others only dream of. And you're trying to bring it home. The storm announces itself long before it arrives. The sky becomes too still. The wind drops and the trees freeze mid-sway, their branches suspended like they're listening. The animals vanish, even the birds. Those that haven't already fled south go silent. You feel the pressure change in your chest before the first thunder, a heaviness that makes you hold your breath, though you're not sure why. Then the sound comes, low at first, a grumble over the horizon, the kind that vibrates more than echoes. You press your ear to the ground and hear it travelling beneath the soil. The others stir. The elders look at one another, but say nothing. There's no need. You've all lived through storms before, but this one feels different. It doesn't come with snow or soft frost or the thin, floating ice you can brush from your shoulders. This one arrives with water and wind and a light so bright, it leaves after images even behind closed eyes. You retreat into the cave and block the mouth with stone. You pull the furs close and try to wait. Outside, the sky cracks open. Lightning rips across the hills like bones splitting beneath a spear. Thunder follows, shaking the rock around you, making the walls feel suddenly fragile. Rain comes next, not gentle or steady, but furious, like the earth is being scoured clean of everything it failed to protect. You don't sleep that night. No one does. You sit with your back to the wall and feel the cave shudder. You hold the boy close, the one who stopped shivering days ago, and you wonder if he'll wake up to the same world when the storm passes. You wonder if any of you will. By morning, the storm is gone. The air smells like copper and burnt wood. You step outside cautiously, blinking against the weak light. The world is changed. Trees have fallen. Roots have been torn from the earth. The riverbank has collapsed, and part of the hunting path is gone, replaced with slick mud and silence. You walk alone for a while, past the broken branches, past the scattered nests, past a deer carcass half submerged in a pool of mud, its legs twisted, its eyes still open. You step carefully around it, noting the way the flies already know. Then you see it. Near the edge of the ravine, where the oldest trees grow, one of them has fallen, split from crown to root. You move closer. It wasn't torn by wind, it was opened from above. You see the blackened stripe down its centre, the fire mark, the wound of the sky. You know what this means. You hurry forward, breath catching in your throat. The base of the tree is still smoking. The wood hisses faintly, and when you kneel and touch the centre with the back of your hand, you feel it. Warmth. You dig quickly, fingers scraping through damp ash and splinters. Beneath a layer of wet moss, there it is, an ember. It glows like a buried heart, small, alive, a gift. You don't shout, you don't call for the others. You move with reverence. You gather bark, curl it around the ember. You blow gently, shielding it from the wind with your hands. It glows brighter. You feel your throat tighten. This wasn't yours, but it was left for you. A storm gift. You carry it back slowly, every step cautious. You don't let the wind touch it. You don't let the ember blink. When you arrive, the others rise to meet you. No one speaks. You crouch on the stone and feed it dry grass. Bark. Strips of shaved root. The children press close. The elders stand still. Then flame. Not fire you borrowed from strangers. Not flame stolen from a clearing. Fire born here. Fire brought back by your hands. A storm tried to kill the world, and from its violence, you pulled this moment, this breath of warmth. You feed it more, learning the rhythm again. How to grow it without letting it leap. How to make it rise without letting it run. It burns slowly, but steady. The cave fills with a glow you haven't seen in days, weeks, maybe longer. You cook that night, nothing special, just meat you had salted with snow, tucked into cracks behind the cave wall. But now it softens, now it warms, now the fat drips into the fire and hisses like a voice. You hand pieces to the children first. They chew slowly, eyes closed. One of them laughs, and it sounds like something you remember from before all this began. Later, after the flames die down and the coals blink like tired eyes, you lie awake and think about the storm. You think about how it tried to tear the world apart, how it left you soaked, cold, buried in silence, and how it gave you something, not just an ember, but a reminder that the world doesn't always want you dead, that sometimes survival isn't just clawed from the mud or stolen from predators. Sometimes it falls from the sky, broken, smouldering, hidden in ash, waiting. You look at your hands, burned at the tips, black with soot, and you understand now, fire is not just found, it is taken, held, kept, and one day it will be made. But for now, you sleep with the smoke still in your hair, and the warmth still glowing inside your ribs. You wake before the sun. The fire has burned low again, curled into itself, a quiet red breath in the stone ring. The others are still asleep, gathered close, their bodies soft in the orange half-light. You sit beside the coals, hands outstretched, palms to the heat, and you remember the storm, the ash, the ember, the moment when something the sky had torn open became yours. But this time, you don't want to wait for another storm. You want to make fire, truly make it. The thought has been growing inside you for days. Every time you feed the flame, you feel it. That small hunger beneath the ribs, the quiet voice that says, what if you could start it from nothing? What if you didn't need lightning? What if the warmth could begin in your own hands? You've seen others try before. Years ago, when you were smaller, one of the old men tried to birth flame from stone. He struck and struck for hours, until his hands bled and his anger grew louder than the sparks. In the end, he left the stones where they lay, and told you all that fire was a thing for the gods. Not for man, but he was wrong. You saw the fire in the hands of those strangers, across the ash trail. You saw their calm, their ease. Fire isn't a miracle to them. It's something they carry, something they do. So now, it's your turn to try. You gather the tools with care: flint, dry bark, grass curled into a loose nest, a flat stone to hold it all. The others begin to stir as you work. Some rise and watch. No one stops you. No one tells you it's foolish. This too is different from before. They've seen what you've brought back. They know you don't chase ghosts. You sit cross-legged and begin. At first nothing happens. Stone on stone. Just sound. A dull scraping ring that vanishes into the cave walls. Your hands move in rhythm, the way you've seen the strangers do it. From memory, from instinct, from something older than explanation. Sparks. The first time it happens, you stop stunned. It was so small, a blink, a moment, but it was real. It jumped like a moth from flint to bark, and then died. But it happened. Your pulse quickens. You try again. Sparks. More this time. Some drift into the nest of grass, some vanish mid-air. Your hands are shaking now, but not from cold, from belief. A few others come closer. One of the children crouches beside you, watching, mouth open. You strike again. A spark lands in the grass, and something changes. It doesn't die. It lingers, faint like a breath trapped in dry leaves. You drop the flint, bend close, cup your hands around the spark. You blow, gently. The ember glows, the grass darkens, curls inwards, begins to smoke. Your eyes sting, your lungs ache, but you don't stop. You blow again, and then it happens. A lick of flame, small, defiant, alive. The cave goes silent, not with fear, not with awe, with something deeper, as if time itself has paused to make room for this. The fire trembles, then grows. You feed it slivers of bark, your hands moving without thought. The child beside you gasps. You hear someone cry, softly, without shame. You have made fire, not found it, not borrowed it, made it, and everything changes. The others gather close, not in panic but in reverence. You show them the stones, the grass, the rhythm. You do it again. This time faster. Another spark, another ember, another flame. The children begin to mimic you. Their small fingers clumsy, eager. It doesn't always work. Most times it fails. But you teach them anyway, because now they know it can be done. And knowledge, once given, does not vanish. You teach not with words, but with action. How to shape the bark into nests. How to strike flint from the right angle. How to listen for the right sound. How to breathe life into a spark as if it were a living thing, pulled from sleep. The old woman smiles. She's seen too many winters, too many deaths, too much silence. But now she sees this, and her eyes, like firelight on wet stone, hold something soft. Pride. You are not the strongest, you are not the leader, but today, you are the one who brought fire from your hands, and that means something. That night the fire burns longer than usual. The cave feels different, not just warmer, but fuller, brighter. A place shaped not by fear or hunger, but by skill, by patience, by the refusal to give in. The flames dance on the walls, casting shadows of hands. Yours, the child's, the others. All reaching, all trying. You watch the fire, and you know this is the beginning of something. Not just for you, for all of them. No longer will you wait for storms. No longer will you chase the scent of faraway smoke. Now, when the night comes, you will meet it with something of your own. You will answer darkness with flame, and though the wind will still blow, and the beasts will still hunt, and the cold will still return, you will have this, a piece of the sun, born from your own hands. It begins like any other day, quiet, grey and brittle with cold. The fire in the cave still smoulders, faint but alive. A bed of red coals curls beneath the ash, pulsing slowly like the breath of something sleeping. Around it the tribe stirs. Bones crack as bodies stretch. Fur wraps fall from shoulders. The children groan softly, half awake, their dreams still warm and lingering. You step outside first. The air bites hard. A cold that's less sharp than yesterday, but still close, still waiting. You kneel at the edge of the slope and scan the tree line. You listen. No birds, no wind, just the strange stillness that always precedes a change. Your eyes find the stone outcrop, where the deer sometimes graze. It's empty now. You return to the fire, feed it small twigs, coax the heat back. It accepts your offering slowly, reluctantly, then flares into life, orange, yellow, soft. The others smile when they see it, not wide grins, not joy, but something older, satisfaction, continuity. This is the 5th day in a row you've made it yourself. No storm, no lightning, no ash trail, only you. Flint, bark, smoke, breath and fire. You don't say it aloud, but it's understood. Something has shifted, something permanent. You are no longer the people who wait for fire. You are the people who bring it. Later, as the sun reaches its weak peak, the scouts return. They found a carcass, fresh, not yet touched by the wolves. A reindeer, young, bones cleanly broken. It must have fallen, or been wounded in the dark and bled out. It's close. If you move quickly, you can take it. The hunt isn't a hunt, it's a claiming. You move together, careful, quiet. The air is dry, the snow shallow. When you reach the body, the scent is sharp but not rotten. Steam still rises from its open ribs. You waste no time. Stone knives work through hide. Fingers plunge into sinew. The body is stripped fast, efficient, nothing wasted. Meat, bone, marrow, skin. You've done this before, but never with fire waiting back at camp. You carry it home. When the cave sees you, there's no cheer, no noise, only speed. Wood is gathered, stones placed. The fire is fed with intention. The meat is cooked, not dried over days, not smoked slowly beside a dying flame, but seared, juices dripping into the coals. The smell rises into the cave like a story. It clings to skin, to fur, to hair. Even the elders sit forward, eyes wide, nostrils flared. You eat. And it's different. The meat is softer, the fat richer. It fills the body faster. The warmth of it moves through you like medicine, like memory. There is less chewing, less pain. The children eat more. The old chew longer. Everyone breathes deeper. And for the first time, in a long time, no one says anything about tomorrow. That night the fire burns high. You let it. Not recklessly, not wastefully, but fully. It dances in a ring of stones like it was always meant to be there. The shadows it casts stretch taller than the cave itself, wrapping the walls in motion. For a while the fire seems to carry its own rhythm, like something waking, like something returning. Someone begins to hum, a low tone just above the sound of crackling wood. Then another voice joins. A rhythm begins, made of hands tapping stone and lips clicking softly. Not a song, not yet, but the beginning of one. The fire pulses with it. Children mimic the flame with their fingers, tracing shapes in the air. One girl tosses a small twig into the heart of it and claps when it bursts. No one stops her. The fear is still there, somewhere deep. The memory of cold, of things stalking in the dark, of hunger so sharp it made you dizzy. That fear will never leave. It is part of you now. But tonight, it kneels beside you, quiet, watching. Like a creature once dangerous that now remembers its place. The fire is yours. Not just the ember, not just the spark, but the whole living thing, born from your hands, fed by your tribe, guarded not by desperation, but by ritual. And in this moment, it does more than warm. It changes you. You don't see beasts in the trees tonight. You don't shiver when the wind moves outside the cave. You watch the flames, and you think of what comes next. Because now, with fire, everything shifts. You can go farther. Hunt longer, sleep deeper. Cook what once made you sick. Shape tools faster. Sing louder. Sit up at night and tell the child beside you that the dark will not take them. Not while you are here, not while this flame lives. The world is still cruel, still cold, still full of teeth, but it has changed, because now, when you strike flint to stone, the world listens, and sometimes it tires, answers. Morning comes differently now, not with dread, not with the brittle snap of cold in your bones, but with a kind of softness, a kind of presence. The cave is warmer than it has ever been. Smoke clings gently to the air. The fire has died to a whisper, but its breath is still warm beneath the ash. It waited for you. It stayed. You rise slowly. The others begin to stir. No one rushes. There is no panic. No sudden hunger gnawing at the edges of thought. There is enough. Not forever, but for now. You step outside. The frost still grips the ground. The sky is still pale and stretched, but it no longer feels endless. You carry something now that answers it. Inside you, at your fingertips. A memory that is no longer just suffering. There was a time, so recently it still aches, when you were just a shape pressed against stone, holding your breath while shadows passed. A time when every night came with the threat of teeth, when fire belonged to the sky, when warmth was a fluke, and death was always near. That time is not gone, but it is behind you, and that makes all the difference. You walk along the trail where the deer once moved, where the predators once stalked, the same place you crouched in silence, afraid to make noise. It feels different now, not safer, but less final, like the balance has shifted, even slightly, like your presence is no longer just tolerated by the world, but acknowledged. You crouch beside a tree and strike flint on stone. Just to see. Sparks jump. One catches. You smile but say nothing. There's no one to see it, and no need to speak. The act itself is enough. It lives in your body now, in your calloused palms, in the rhythm of your arms. This is not magic. It is memory, passed forward, sharpened into skill. You've given that to them too, the children. They sit together now, practicing. Small fires flicker between hands, too young to understand the weight of what they've done. But you know, you watch them, and you see the future kindling there. You wonder what the next generation will carry. Maybe they will shape fire into more than light and warmth. Maybe they will make it speak, cook better, smelt metal, carve deeper into the bones of the world. Maybe fire will stop being a line between life and death, and become a language, or a weapon. You do not know. You are not meant to. You only know that you are the bridge. Between fear and fire. Between silence and song. Between waiting and creating. Behind you, the cave is filling with light. The elders are awake now, murmuring softly. The children laugh, too loud, but no one scolds them. Someone adds bark to the hearth. The flame stirs. It rises, slowly, proud. It belongs here now. And so do you. You think of the first cold, of nights when your fingers turned to stone, of the taste of rot in your teeth, of the eyes that watched from the edge of every shadow, of the storm that cracked the sky open and dropped a gift at your feet. You think of the ash trail, of the strangers with fire in their hands, of the first spark that answered. All of that led to this morning, this dawn, this breath of peace you did not think your kind would ever earn. You sit at the edge of the cave and watch the sun rise through trees heavy with frost. You don't speak, you just feel it. How your ribs expand fully now. How your body no longer curls to defend itself. How even the wind, though sharp, feels survivable. There will still be hunger, still be death, still be nights when the fire goes out and you curse the dark again. But you have fire now. You have it in your hands. You have it in your story. You have it in the way you walk, upright, slow, unafraid. And one day, long from now, someone will ask where it began. Not fire itself, but the knowing, the doing, the keeping. And they'll look back, past cities and machines, past torches and towers, past all the clever names and written words, until they find you. Bent over stone, breathing into bark, calling light from the silence. And they will know, this is when the night began to lose. This is when the dark first stepped back. This is when you stopped surviving and began to live.